All right, guys, welcome to the live stream today. We're going to be doing casting some fake coral pieces. So I found these things on Amazon, and they're actually made out of resin. And I think what they're supposed to be they're supposed to be put in like an aquarium or, like a fish tank or something like that. But I think they're made out of resin, and I thought it'd be really fun to try and cast these, see what we can make. So that's what we're going to be doing today. For everybody that tried to get on last week and found that I wasn't streaming, I apologize for that. YouTube changed their interface thing, and I don't know what happened, but nothing would work. I couldn't get the stream to work, and I kind of tested, played with it for like a couple hours, kind of got it to work a little later, but it was just kind of too late at that point. So we put it off till this week, and it looks like everything's working fine right now. I'm using the old style of their interface. I didn't really want to tempt fate. So thank you guys for showing up this week, and hopefully we'll have some fun. So what I'm going to do, there's a lot of people joining. Again, so today what we're going to do is we're going to dunk some fake coral pieces. And I found these on Amazon. And what I'll do is for the replay, I'll have a link to where I got these things, but you can look and search for like fake coral or something like that on Amazon is how I found it. But like I said, there'll be a link down in the show notes when this replay gets put up. So let me switch camera views real quick so you can see what we got going on here. So you get a bunch of these little pieces, and I got actually 2 packages of these, and there was something like 8 or 10 or something like that in each package. Pretty cool stuff. Now, like I said, they're kind of made out of resin, and I think the thing is, though, I think the resin part is just white, and then they painted these. So we'll have to kind of see. If you cut into them, they're probably not going to be the most amazing thing. But what I was thinking is I have these 2 burl chunks, and we could glue, a piece of this on there and just kind of make maybe like an egg-shaped type thing or like a bottle stopper. It'd be a pretty big bottle stopper, but try and keep it intact, basically when we turn it. And then the rest of these, what I want to do is, I'm really curious. Supposedly they're made out of resin. And what I want to do is just basically, I want to toss them in a mold, and I want to see how they turn as is. These are, like I said, straight out of the package. Now, the other thing about these is I'm going to save a bunch of these, and what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make silicone molds of them. And then that way you can make whatever colors you want, and they'll totally be turnable regardless, but you can do it, anything that you want once you've molded one. So I thought that'd be kind of fun. That's what we're going to be doing today. So I think it's going to be a pretty fun show. So basically what we're going to do is 3 castings. We have those 2, like the burl chunk ones. We got 2 of those. So I'm going to have to hot glue that on. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to toss these things in the oven. So I'm going to do that right now. And like I said, we got 2 of them, 1 of each. So we'll do, each one of those is going to be a casting. I was thinking we could maybe try and do a kind of like a blue color in one of them, just barely tint the resin a little bit blue. And then in one, we'll just go for clear. And what I'm going to do for the mold is I'm just going to use, what is this called? Corrugated plastic. I couldn't think of it. And I'm just going to kind of hot glue them. Hopefully it won't leak. This is the only thing that I'm a little worried about, but I'm just going to basically hot glue them on the sides of that burl chunk and then pour some resin on top. So I think it should be pretty fun. I'm probably going to use, I think I'm just going to use liquid diamonds for that actually, and just let it sit. And probably we won't have to worry about air bubbles, but in this case, I actually don't really care if we get some air bubbles in them. So I'm just going to probably pour that, let it sit, and kind of walk away. The other one, what we're going to do is dump them in this mold, which I also want to heat this up. And then those, we'll just use Alumilite. We might go for, I don't know. I was thinking maybe we could add color to the resin, but that doesn't really make sense. I think that we'll probably go for bottle stoppers out of that mold, and then we'll cut into part of it a little bit, but try and keep some of the colors intact. So we'll probably just go for a clear. We'll just do Alumilite and stick it in the pressure pot. So it should be kind of fun today. Let me stop real quick and see what the chat's doing, because you guys are moving and shaking in there. So like I said, sorry about last week. I was bummed. I was excited to do this. I wanted to see how these things worked, and it just wasn't working for me. All right, Jeremy's here. What's up, man? Oh, and one other thing that I wanted to mention is let me see if I can get the name right. Mid-Ohio Valley Pen Turners Gathering. Hopefully I said that right. That's happening this weekend. I don't know all the details, but let me see if I can pull up a Google link and stick it in the chat real quick. You can get all the information. I think it's happening. It's September 14 and 15. And like I said, I don't exactly know where it is and all that stuff, but you can find out more information. I just wanted to mention that it's a really good event. I've heard from a lot of people that have been to past, previous years. It's a really good event. Lots of people, lots of fun. So definitely, if you're in the area, in the kind of the Midwest, the Ohio area, definitely head over there and check it out. There's going to be lots of people there, and like I said, it's a really fun event. So let's see here. We got Jeff's here. What's up? Mike McEwen. How's it going, man? Jen's here. Nice. Everybody's here. It was so weird last week. So I'm like, I hit record on my like streaming software, like the stuff on my computer, and it's going. And technically YouTube was saying like I could see myself on my YouTube channel, but like it was saying like, oh, it's not getting, I don't know, there was like warnings and stuff, and like nobody's in the chat. So I'm just sitting here talking to myself for like 10 minutes and I'm like, I think something's wrong. Like not one person showed up. So I was a little bit worried this week, like nobody's going to show up. Pretty fun though. Anyway, let's see here. Christina's here. How's it going? Look at that. Kim Tippin, how's it going? Wow, lots of people. Sweet. Nice. All right, so I'm going to have to kind of skip some of the highs and hellos, but hello to everybody. Glad you guys could make it out today. Yeah, Jason Rose is the contact, so you can find him on Facebook also. But all the information is on that website. I did put the link, didn't I? No, yeah, put the link in the chat, and I'll put a link down in the show notes as well. Let's see here. You have one of the shirts? Yeah, so I guess I should mention it. So I finally got merch on my channel. I finally put together a Teespring store, I guess. And we got Dunkin junk shirts. So there's lots of different colors, like fun colors for like the t-shirt with the logo on it. And then I also have one that's I Heart Resin. I thought that'd be kind of fun. Dunkin junk mugs. I think I put socks up there. You can basically put the logo or your artwork on pretty much anything. And we're going to be making more t-shirts, things that are like resin casting oriented, or things that are like, kind of inside jokes or things on the channel. So as time goes on, there's going to be lots more. So I think you just basically, I think it's teespring.com/nvwoodworks, or underneath all of my videos. And I don't know exactly how the player works right now for the live, but all my, normal videos, there's actually my store under there. You might have seen the shirts and stuff. So pretty cool. I'm excited about it. It makes things pretty easy. The other thing is my stickers are all going to be on, run through Teespring. So right now the Dunkin junk stickers are there, and then I'm going to be moving my NV Woodworks ones over there as well. So that way they can just handle the stickers for me from now on, because I'm really terrible about sending stickers and stuff. So anyway, lots of cool stuff. Doing a big Star Wars. Oh, I saw what you got. Nice. I can't wait to see that, Mark. Star Wars pours are cool. I've actually, where do you get the little Star Wars miniature things? I don't know exactly where you get them. Hey, Julie's here. How's it going? Nice. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So leggings. I want to get leggings. I actually want to do that. The problem is I'm a little worried that it's not going to work, because I just have a round Dunkin junk logo. So I want to make sure that when I create them in their software, that it's actually going to be, it's not going to be just like horrible or look weird. So I am working on that. Yeah, I know Doug wants some leggings. So anyway, yeah, lots of fun stuff. And the other thing that's cool is this weekend on Sunday is the Reno air races. So if anybody's anywhere in the area near here, around this time, it's usually like the second week of September. If you can make it out to the Reno air races, I highly recommend it. If you like airplanes and stuff, they like actually race. It's really cool. They also have kind of an air show, so you get like the military jets doing cool stuff and like teams doing things. So definitely check that out. That's where I'm going to be this weekend. But on Sunday, the Shredded Money Bowl video should be up. I'm almost finished with it. I got most of the editing done. Just got to do some kind of final touches. So that video is going to go up Sunday. You definitely don't want to miss that one. It's a good video, I think. Flossy merch. I'm telling you, yeah, we need to make a hashtag Flossy t-shirt. That would be good. All right, cool. So anyway, let's get going here, so no, you're not just all just sitting there listening to me chatter. first things first, let's just do the dunking them, like throwing them in the mold thing. So again, what we're going to use, I'll just show you this one. I got the mold in the oven right now. It's a 2-inch by 2-inch or so deep and about 6.5 inches long. You can make these for like the handle blanks or I don't know. Most of the blocks that I put up on my short runs thing, that's the size that I use. So you can make, you know, bottle stoppers too. So I thought we could just kind of load it up, dump these things in there, pour some resin, and it's going to be kind of quick. So quick and easy. But part of the thing is I want to see if you can turn, you know, how do these things turn? What happens? Are they resin really? Are they, you know, kind of the same thing that we use? So I'm kind of curious about that. But at the same time, if we do bottle stoppers and, you know, if these little pieces are kind of hanging out sideways in here like that, you know, you can cut your bottle stopper out and we'll cut into parts of this and it may not look amazing, but there should be some of this stuff left. Like we're not going to cut it totally up. So that's it's kind of an experiment more than like, I really think this is going to be an amazing blank. I don't, you know, that's not really the point. I just want to kind of see how this works. So let's switch to the casting view. I got my iPhone open here. Let's see if I got, everything should work, I think. Let's see here. Sometimes it takes a second. Oh man, and then I was so worried because I like reset my modem today and it wouldn't start up again. And I was like, oh no, we may not have a show today either. But luckily I let it sit for a minute, think about what it's done, and it fired back up eventually. We might have just had a kind of quick intermittent, I don't know, outage or something, I guess. But I think keeping my fingers crossed, we should be good today for the rest. So first thing I'm going to do is grab some gloves. I'm going to grab my notebook here. Kind of curve that down so you can kind of sort of watch what I'm doing here. So I always write notes for all my castings, just so that, you know, if we want to recreate something or, I don't know, sometimes it's just, one thing that you get out of taking notes before you cast something is that you just kind of get what you're doing in your head, right? Like you're writing it down and you're like, okay, I'm gonna add this much resin and, you know, we're gonna do this. And it just kind of helps you to kind of visualize what's going on also. But mainly it's just, you know, so that you can go back and take notes so you know how much resin you used, what effects that you put in the resin, all that kind of good stuff. And I'm using a digital pen because it saves this stuff to the cloud so that if I ever lose this book, I have a copy of it. So today is 9/13. We're doing fake coral. And so number one, we're doing some like stoppers. So this mold that we're going to be using right here, it holds about 400 grams or so, maybe about like 430, 420. So, but we're going to be sticking things in it. So I'm just going to mix up 400 grams. That should be enough. We're going to go 200 times 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Alumilite Clear slow set for this. And I'm going to add just a little bit of extra part B to that mix. And this only works for Alumilite Clear. That product only. But it just helps to ensure that you get a really dead clear casting. And then so basically we're just going with clear. Now one thing that we could do is add some glitter type stuff. I don't know. Let's see here. I'm just double checking. Oh yeah, it's Friday the 13th. That's right. Anybody gonna watch the movies tonight? That'd be fun. I like that one. Yeah, you guys are talking about polyester resin. It stinks terribly. One of the biggest problems is it shrinks, so it's not a good wood, or I mean, it's not a good one to do for hybrids because it'll kind of shrink and cause weird stuff. So what do you guys think about, yeah, you like bling? Let's see here. Let's see what I got. Sorry, the view's kind of boring, but even if I switched it to the upper one, I'm going off camera here. Trying to think if there's something kind of fun that we haven't really used before. You know, one thing that you can do to get effects, you know, there's obviously like glitter and, you know, stuff like that. One thing that you can do that it might be worth just kind of doing, trying out. You can just add a little bit of mica powder, you know, just regular, you know, like your caster's choice. So I'm actually kind of, why don't we do that? You know, you don't, this stuff, this mica powder kind of is like a really fine glitter in a sense. So you can just add a little bit of that in there and kind of swirl it around and you'll get that kind of, you know, a little bit of kind of a blinginess. So let's just do that. I'm gonna use the Brilliant Blue from Caster's Choice. I got a light here. Maybe that'll, it's not really helping. There. Yeah, I don't know. My lights aren't really working on it. But Brilliant Blue from Caster's Choice. Let's just add a little bit of that. Let's try it and see what happens. Let's see. Any tips on creating a galaxy effect? Yeah, all that. I don't know. It's kind of tough. There's lots of different ways you can do it, though. You can use, you know, mica powders and all that kind of stuff and add a little bit of the kind of glitter stuff as well. You can do interference powders, lots of different ways. The biggest problem is like if you're trying to, the toughest thing in resin casting is like if you take a picture from the internet of a galaxy and you're trying to recreate that in resin, you're gonna have to just sit there and do it for a long, you know, lots of experiments. That's the only way to really do that. It's tough to mimic exact or get exact results in the look of a blank. But you can kind of generally, you know, like I said, using interference powders or, you know, color change powders, plus, you know, like alcohol inks. I know some people do that too. But yeah, lots of different things. My nebula blanks just use mica powders basically. So you can get it with just straight mica powders if you want. Okay, so we're going to add we're just adding a little bit. It's going to be like kind of having a sort of blue glitter kind of hanging out in the resin. So tiny bit of Brilliant Blue. One other little kind of announcement. We're still getting all the like final details put together, but I'm going to be doing classes at Turner's Warehouse in Phoenix, November like 7th or 8th. That whatever weekend that is, 7th or 8th. Let me just look real quick. I think it's this. I know that's a couple months off, but oh, that's not right. Actually, the classes are going to be November 10th. Yeah, so November 10th, that Sunday, I'm going to be doing some classes down at Turner's Warehouse, so that should be kind of fun. So I'll just give you kind of an early heads up. If you're going to be in the area, I will be there. And the way I'm going to do it, I think this time is we're going to do like beginner resin casting. I think that there's always, you know, new people that want to just take the beginner class. We're going to do that in the morning. And then what I'm going to do is actually just have 2 spots in the afternoon for one-on-one classes. So there's not going to be a lot of, you know, different things with bigger classes, just one kind of big class and then a couple of, I like one-on-one type things. I think that it's kind of cool to be able to, you know, really focus on one person and help them out. Okay, so that's, I guess, it. That's all I had to write. I'm talking, thinking, taking notes. So we're going to get 400 grams, 200 times 2. Will that work? 175? No, that's not going to work. I'm going to get a bigger cup here. So I got my quart mixing cup. We're going to zero it out. And again, we're going to be using, this doesn't say slow set, but it is the slow set. This is just a different bottle. But Alumilite Clear slow set is what we're using. You could probably just use the regular set for something like this too, but I have the regular, so let's fire it up. So we're going to go 200 grams of Part A. $184. Almost there. It's tough to see the chat. And if I put it side, oh. have my phone here, but it's kind of hard to see. It's so small. I'm excited. I last time I bought a new iPhone, I decided just to do the upgrade program thing. And so they just came out with the new phones, and I'm all excited because I got my pre-order in for the iPhone 11. I figured why not? I use it pretty much for everything. That's what I shoot videos with and all the pictures and stuff for everything that I do. So I thought, you know, probably a good idea just to have the most up-to-date thing, have the best camera, right? And so now I'm all, oh, I can't wait for October. Get my new phone. All right, so part B, like I said, we're going to add a little bit extra part B. And again, this doesn't work for any other resin. Don't do this unless you're using Alumilite Clear, okay? The same one, or Clear Slow Set. I'm going to add 1 more gram of part B to make it a little bit part B heavy. It's not going to affect anything, but it will help make sure that this mixture is dead clear in the blanks, because that's what we're pouring, is a dead clear blank. So make sure I'm zeroed out here. 201 grams is the number we're going for. Whoa. Let's see here. 185. 196. So it snowed in the mountains here a few days ago. Snowboarding season is coming soon. I can't wait. I missed it, you know? I really missed it. So 201. Close enough. Yep, there we go, 201. So I'm going to mix this up, and what I'm going to do is we're going to just mix it. Let me kind of angle down here. We're going to mix this whole cup up, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to pour it in the mold. I'm going to push our little goodies down in, and then what I'm going to do is kind of sprinkle some of this into the mold and just kind of swirl it around, get it kind of moved around in there. Okay, so pretty easy. You know, there's not a lot to this, but now I could, with these types of things, I could probably put these in the mold first if I really wanted to, but I don't have to do that either. I don't think that they're really going to trap air. You know, there's not too many places, but this one might be kind of a little bit problematic. I'm probably going to push this down in sideways and slowly so that hopefully the resin will kind of fill these little holes. But that one might be a little problematic. The rest of them, I don't think that there's going to be any issues here. Yeah, I did say snow. It snowed, I mean, like way up in the mountains. Way high. And I think it snowed in like Colorado and the middle, you know, the Rockies area. Pretty cool. Have I ever metered my resin pumps? Nope. There's really no, I don't know what that would do. You still need to weigh it. Hey, how's it going, Thomas? How's it going in Texas? So making sure that I scrape the sides of the cup, the bottom, get all of the little part A's and part B's mixed together nicely. And this is the slow set version, so we got quite a bit of time. One thing that's nice is with the temperature dropping finally, I've got a lot more working time in the shop. It's been just absolutely a dream. I gotta be honest. The last like week has been just awesome with, you know, the temperatures and casting stuff is just so much easier when it isn't above 80 degrees. So let's get this thing kind of in here. Kind of tilt this down. Is that, it's not the worst view ever. I think I'm going to put it up here because I think there's a better view. Well, sort of. Maybe not. Okay, let's try that again. Well, not the greatest lighting here, I guess, but I want to kind of rearrange my shop. That's on my list There. That's not too bad, I think. I think you guys can kind of see what's going on at this point. So one thing I want to do is kind of wait a little bit before I sprinkle in the mica powder. I don't think it's going to really sink or anything like that, but we can pour in the resin right now. So we're going to do that. That's not a problem, but I do think I want to wait a little bit before I put the mica powder in so that it'll kind of hold in place. So we can drop our little goodies in. Oh, I totally didn't do that right. Oops. So you got to watch out because you can trap air bubbles and pockets in these things. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I want to tap this and make sure that the air pockets get out of those little holes, if possible. See, a little bubble kind of came out of there. I was supposed to do that nice and slowly, and I totally forgot. It happens though, you know. If we have a bubble or two, you know, whatever. Not going to be that big of a deal, but rather kind of get most of those things out of there. Get this thing situated here, all right. And then let's see here. Let's put this guy right here. And then we'll put this one. Actually, I think what I'm going to do is put this guy down here, and then this one can kind of go in here. There we go. Okay. We almost have it filled up. Not quite to the top yet, but pretty close. Checking the temperature of this just to kind of see. I've actually found, so a lot of people say that there's some magic temperature that works like all the time, and I've been doing some kind of testing and stuff like that, and what I've found is temperature is, I would say, more accurate than time. You know, if you just set up a timer. The problem is when you start the timer is going to vary a lot, right? So I would say that's the least, unless you're very consistent, which I am, that's why I can use time, but unless you're very consistent mixing and doing everything like that, time is probably not, you know, the least consistent way of doing things, and it's going to vary depending on temperature, the ambient temperature in your shop. But what I've found is temperature, you know, if you just test the temperature of the resin, it is also dependent upon the ambient temperature in the shop. So it's really the viscosity of the resin that can tell you, you know, when things are ready to do color swirls and things like that. So just one of those things. I'm always learning as I go. Okay, so I don't have that much powder here, just a little bit, and I just want to kind of try and tap this off a little bit. I think this is going to be cool, guys. This blue is really bright with those other colors in there. So I think this is going to be pretty neat. Okay, so we got our powder in there. Now what we want to do is kind of swirl it around a little bit. And so you can get these kind of... Another way to go is you can just add the mica powder to some resin. And that's a good way to go as well, but I kind of actually want some dots, right? So that's why I'm doing it this way. But if you mix it in with the resin, you won't get any like big clumps of it when you do this and you're mixing it around. I'm actually all right with a few clumps, though. I'm quite all right with that. Another thing that you can do if you need to get, you know, a specific type of resin like way down in the bottom of a mold, you can just use syringes and kind of, you know, squirt it out down there. I haven't really played with that too much myself, but it is a possibility, and I know a lot of people actually do use that method. I think it's one of those things, again, you'd have to experiment with it, and I haven't really had time or want to do a whole lot of experimenting, but it is an option. Just wanted to mention that. All right, so we kind of got it forced down in there. Now, another thing that you can do to kind of drop, lower stuff is add a little bit more resin, and that'll kind of smush it down, swirl it down a little bit in there. Topped it off, so it looks like we estimated pretty much exactly perfect on the amount, which is good. I always like it when I do good estimates. Cover that up, and I'm gonna move this thing up, and we're just gonna pop it in the pressure pot. We'll be good to go. And like I said, it's not really gonna move around, I don't think. There's still quite a bit of open time with this. But your resin, if you're using a different type of resin, if the temperature's higher and it's a thinner viscosity, you might have to kind of wait a little longer for it to lock things in place. So just be aware of that. So I hope I made sense when I was talking about the temperature of the resin and ambient temperature in the shop. The thing was, when it was cold in here, what I noticed was my temperatures, I could pour Alumilite Clear Slow Set when the temperature of it was like 95, 100 in the winter, and everything was fine. It would all the colors would be, thick and stay in place. But in the summer, when it was like 84 degrees, I'd have to wait till it was 120 to get the same effect. Otherwise, it was just too thin. And the reason for that is the higher the ambient temperature, the thinner the resin is going to be in the jug. So really, the color swirl thing really is primarily dependent upon viscosity of your resin, is what I've found. So it's kind of an interesting thing. I didn't know about that. I thought the temperature kind of was the same thing, and I don't think it really is, personally. I may be wrong about that though. So where are we at here? Let's see here. Yeah, so again, KRL, I don't know what you're doing. Curlplups. I'm not sure what your screen name is, but yeah, I'll tell you what I do. I don't worry about the temperature. The thing is, as long as it's consistent, as long as the temperature isn't fluctuating. So, if it's in the shop, if it's like always 75 degrees, then, what you're going to have to do is kind of experiment to see, where is that kind of sweet spot for you based on the temperature in your shop. What I was finding was, when it was really hot in here, I could wait till 120 degrees with Alumilite Clear, and I was fine. Like that was kind of the temperature, and you can go by temperature, like all the time. But then, over the last week, it's dropped down to like 70, starting when I get here, like 70, 72 degrees in the shop, and that 120 is not the same number. Like it's going to start setting up. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like you really need to look for, three things. I actually go by time. When I'm done stirring, I actually put a timer on just so I know how long I've been working with it. I use the temperature gauge just to kind of keep an eye on things, but what I'm doing is I'm pulling it out of, pulling the resin out of the mixing cup and letting it flow off and looking at what the viscosity is, because the one thing that doesn't change is I'm always looking for the same exact viscosity. That's when, once I see a specific, thickness, then it's ready to pour. So if you can kind of figure that out, it's going to take some experimentation, but figure out the viscosity that you're looking for depending on what you're going for, I guess. And then, but also be looking at the temperature. And then you can kind of, as long as things are staying the same, you can always rely on that temperature. But if they fluctuate, kind of wildly, you're going to have to make adjustments even if you're using temperature. I wanted to mention that because there's a lot of people that just say, oh, if it's 100 degrees, then it's ready to pour and your colors won't bleed. And I don't know if that's really the case. I don't think that is the case. I think you still need to keep an eye on, a little bit more about it than just the temperature. So What do we get? Super chat. Nice. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. If anybody else wants to super chat, you can do so down in the bottom of the chat window, but I appreciate it. Now, I have to ask you, how do you say your screen name? I think I've mentioned this before. I am just at a zero loss on how to pronounce that. So let me know how you pronounce your screen name. 64 degrees and breezy. Nice. Let's see here. Yeah, like I said, timers, though, I think are probably the least consistent method. Like, you have to make sure that you're stirring. Like, every time you stir, you're kind of doing it the same amount of time. Otherwise, when you start the timer, totally affects the amount of time that you've been working with it. You know, like, it's not something that's just, I don't know. How long you stir and when you hit the timer are going to wildly affect that. So it's kind of, I don't know if I'd rely on that, but what I tell people is I think you should use a timer. Do what I do. Use a timer, use the temperature gauge, and, you know, but the bottom line is you really got to understand what it's supposed to look like, you know, the thickness of it. You need to know that. One thing that I also tell people, if you're brand new to resin casting, to get an idea of like how much working time you have, I would totally just blow a pour, like mix it up, and you're not even going to cast it. Like, the idea is to let it sit there, you know, put a timer on and watch that, look at the temperature, and just watch it until it fully hardens. Then you'll totally know, how long do I really have to work with this? And, you know, what are its characteristics at certain times? That's the best way to totally understand your resin. So pretty cool, pretty cool. You're wasting a little bit of resin, but you're gaining so much knowledge from that wasted pour that I think it's totally worth it. So let me switch cameras here. We're going to go to that's the wrong camera. The turning camera, but we're not going to do turning right now. So I got my hot glue gun out. These are the guys that I'm saving to make silicone molds of eventually. But what I'm using is corrugated plastic. We're going to make little molds around our burl chunks. So here's the burl chunks that we got, and what I was thinking is we will just put a couple of these guys here, and we're going to be hot gluing the heck out of this thing. So, you know, the problem with this is I'm going to be running the risk of leaks, but the way that I'm going to try and get this to be leak proof is we're going to run a bead of hot glue around here first. So run a bead and then stick the piece on. So you should have a good seal down here. Then, you know, put all the pieces on, and then what we're going to do is we're going to put hot glue on the edges of all these joints. And then at the end, I'm going to also add some tape. So hopefully that's going to be good enough. This is probably not the way that I would really recommend that you do this, but with enough glue, hot tape, all that kind of stuff, I think we should be okay. So I think we'll be okay. I don't know. Who knows if we're going to be okay or not. Nice, perfect. So let's see here. Let me go back. Crult pulps. Okay, cool. Nice. Braxton's here. What's up, dude? I just saw you. Did somebody ask what pressure I go to? Yeah, I go to 70 psi in mine. They can go up to 80. And so, you know, it just depends on what your pressure pot can handle. The Binks ones they're rated to like 90, I believe, but I mean, you'd have to double check. Those ones are super expensive. They're like $700 or something like that. I don't use those. I use the CA Technologies. They're definitely high end. I think these things cost about $300, but they're rated, and I feel extremely safely rated to 80 psi. Like, there's just like no way that they're going to fail at that point. I always stay 10 psi below whatever the rated max is for your pressure pot. That's just my kind of, I don't know, safety kind of thing. I feel comfortable with that. I don't think it's going to fail. And as long as you're within the, you know, as long as you're within that level, you're good to go. So first thing I need to do actually is, here's my little piece. I want to see how high I need to go, and then I'm going to cut this. I could probably just cut it in half. Well, maybe. Another way you could do this is, you know, you can hot glue the thing on, and then we could put it in a square mold sideways. That wouldn't be a bad way to go. The problem is I don't have a mold big enough for this piece, and I don't really want to cut it down. This is a little bit bigger than 2 inch by 2 inch. So I want to have this thing as big as possible. So I'd rather just kind of block this up. Another way you can go is using just acrylic sheets. And you can actually just CA glue them together. I see a lot of the craft kind of channels that use resin doing that kind of thing. So first thing we're going to do is put a little bit of hot glue here. Don't need a lot. We just need this thing to kind of stick on there. Try and get it centered as best I can. There we go. And like I said, I don't really think it needs to be much higher than that. How far is that? That's the question. Yeah, so I think I can just cut these about 6 inches. And we'll be good to go. So I'm going to get my little mat out. I'm just going to kind of cut these over there on that mat real quick to 6 inch lengths. Okay. So we got our little chunk stuck on there. Good to go. So like I said, what I'm going to do here is, and actually I need to cut these wider ones to 6 inches as well. So let me go do that real quick before we move on. Approximately 6 inches, somewhere around there. All right, so now we got 2 of each of these guys. Okay, so the wide ones are going to go on last. First thing I'm going to do here is we're going to lay down a bead of glue. At the top, and actually it's going to be a good bead of glue all the way to the edges. And then probably just a little bit more on the bottom here. And kind of like that. All right. Do the same on the other side. Like I said, the problem with doing it this way is, you know, you got to really make sure that you've, you know, sealed off the chamber where the resin's going to go. That's the only thing, is this isn't like the most guaranteed mold method, but again, with enough hot glue and all that kind of stuff, and I'm actually going to tape the corners and everything, I don't think that there's going to be a problem. I think we'll be good. I have faith, you know, I got faith. And then this one is going to go, and it, like I said, it covers the entire thing. So what I'm going to do here is add a lot of glue. Oh, I need another glue stick. Shoot. There's my glue sticks. Pro tip, have extra glue always handy at all times. Okay. Now I'm going to come and actually lay down a bead of glue in these corners at the end as well. So we're going to have lots of glue all over this thing. Promise. Actually, probably would be a good idea to do it up the edges right here, right now. That'll help out a little bit too. Okay, so that's looking pretty good, I think. And one thing, I can kind of monitor this because we're not going to pressurize these ones. So I'll kind of keep an eye on these things in the shop as I'm kind of hanging out here. Now we're just going to put some resin up the corners. We're living on the wild side today, guys. Living on the wild side. Always have lots of glue handy in the shop. Never have too many glue sticks. It's kind of like clamps. Okay, now I'm going to put that kind of on its side, and we're going to put something with a little bit of weight on top of that, just to kind of force it together while it kind of cures. The way I look at it, hot glue gun is cheap, resin is not. All right, so let me stop real quick, see what you guys are talking about here. Yeah, so this stuff is corrugated plastic. You can get it at places like Home Depot. They make signs out of it. I actually went and found if you have a sign shop, someplace that makes signs, you can buy a whole sheet of it there for kind of cheap. The beard is here. What's up? Yeah, and Walmart has the stuff, and so like like for sale signs a lot of times and things like that. That's what that stuff's made out of. All right. Yeah, so I found these little things on Amazon, and like I said, I'll have a link to where this stuff, the ones that I got on the replay. I forgot I was gonna have. I had one ready last week, but then the stream didn't work. So yeah, these little goodies are like fake aquarium things, but supposedly they say they're made out of resin. So I'm thinking you can probably turn them. I'm kind of thinking they might be maybe like a polyester resin or something, some kind of junky, junky type of plastic. But I gotta find more glue sticks, guys. Oh yeah, I got bags of these guys. Let me get my giant bag of glue stick out of here. Okay, so we should be good with those, that many. All right, so first thing, we're going to glue this guy on. It's not very flat. I should have probably sanded that flat, but yeah, I need to sand this thing flat. There's like kind of a dish in there, so I should have looked at that before I smattered a bunch of glue on there. So I'm going to head over to the disc sander real quick. Try and get some of this glue off before it even dries, so it doesn't gum up my sander too much. There we go. So I've just wiped it off a little bit. Go hit it with the sander. I'm going to put the mute on so you guys don't have to listen to this. Just sand it up real quick. All right, so you can see that the inside of this thing is going to be pretty much just white. So if you turn into it, that's what you can expect. That might be kind of fun. Sometimes, you know, these things have kind of weird shapes to them. That's why I'm interested in the coral stuff. So, you know, turning into it and it just being white might actually be kind of cool. You just never know until you try it. Okay. We got that guy pretty well centered, I think. There we go. Let that kind of dry a little bit there. So how many of you guys are going to the Mid-Ohio Valley Pen Turners Gathering? That is the longest. They need to really shorten that to like something. I don't know. Look at all those likes. Thanks, David. Lots of thumbs up. Woo! Hey, what's up, Ray? How's it going? I didn't see you in there. All right. So I think that thing's probably pretty, well, it's not really that good yet. Still kind of wiggly, guys. I don't want it to fall off. What else is new here? It's been like a week since I saw you. Almost 2 weeks, or I guess 2 weeks since I hung out with you guys. To be honest, I've just been kind of trying to keep up with inventory over the last week or two. All right, now it's looking pretty good. So let me make sure that I am on camera again. Let's just double check here. There we go. Glob it on here. And just add a little bit more down here, just for good measure. Okay. Well, we got a little bit of a divot, so I'm going to try and fill that up for sure with some hot glue. A little divot piece in the burl. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit down here, just for good measure. And again, the idea, the type of blank that I have in my mind for this is like maybe like an egg or something, or, you know, I don't know. We can just kind of turn it and, I don't know. It'll be kind of a random piece. The problem is I didn't have anything bigger in dye stabilized burl. And so, you know, I'd probably go for like a sphere or something maybe, or like a bigger thing. We're going to be kind of cutting it close on this, but I think we can make something pretty cool. Just maybe like a large bottle stopper or something like that. Mainly, I just want to see how this looks, you know. A lot of what I do on my channel is really just experiments to see what happens, you know. That way, once you kind of know, if it just turns out kind of like bleh, then you're like, well, I don't need to do that again. And if it turns out really good, then, you know, you probably have learned when you did that experiment, you know, some lessons on, you know, okay, now let's do something for real. So that's why I always say, you know, experiment often with resin. It's the best way to go. You want to experiment often and have fun with it. Getting hot glue all over myself. That's okay. Gotta add another piece of hot glue here to my gun. I'm not being shy whatsoever with the glue gun. Don't be shy. Okay. Put this guy on there. Actually, I got to do the corners real quick. There we go. All right, we're good to go. When that one kind of cures a little bit, what I'm going to do as a last ditch effort to make sure that there's no leaking is I'm going to put tape on those corners, just for the heck of it. One extra step ain't going to cost me much in time or money, so we may as well. What's up, EVC Labs? How's it going? On a camera, well, if you're just making videos, Sean, I mean, I just use my iPhone, you know, for my regular videos. If you're going to do live streams, that kind of changes things. But I mean, all I use is the Logitech C920s, and then I have a camera, a Canon Vixia, you know, just like a handy cam, basically. Streaming has some other stuff, like it's easier just to make a video, kind of tech-wise, you know. But yeah, you don't really need much more than an iPhone and good lighting and a decent microphone, you know, and then you're good to go. Oh, I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there. Doing good. Oh, Jen, do not watch Dunkin Junk and Drive. It's illegal in most states. Okay, so let's take a peek at this guy. It looks like it's pretty solid. Should hold some resin, I think. Let me make sure I'm on camera here, but yeah, there we go. Everything's like backwards. There we go. I think that, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if tape's really going to help much. All the edges seem to be pretty well sealed up. I'm looking down in here. We got pretty good edges in there. So I don't know. I think I'm going to forego the tape. If anything, I think it'd be smarter just to put another layer of glue on the outside than mess around with that tape. Let's take a peek at this guy. It's looking pretty good. Let me find the center of the camera. This is really hard. Everything's backwards. Looking pretty good though. I think we got everything pretty well. Now, one problem that I just noticed down in here, way down in there, I got glue blobs. So that's going to kind of, on the edges, that's probably not a good thing. But whatever, it'll be okay. We'll just have to see how that turns out. Okay, so we got two molds. And I guess I'm just going to leave the camera over here and just pour them here. I'm going to set up the camera over here, I think. Yeah. No, sorry. We're going to go back over here. Sorry, guys. That wasn't working so good. Okay. Get the cords out of the way. This way I can be behind the camera while I'm pouring it. All right. So what I'm thinking is, in this one we have a kind of a blue piece. You know, so I think let's just go with the clear resin on this one. In this one, we got a yellow kind of piece, and I don't know how this is going to affect things, but I just kind of wanted to tint the resin blue just to see, you know, what does that do? Because obviously this stuff is supposed to be kind of underwater type stuff, you know, plants or coral, you know, underwater. So let's do a blue tinted resin and a clear resin in this one, and then we'll be good to go. So for this, what I'm going to be using, I'm going to switch camera views real quick while we're doing this. Taram's Turnings, thank you. I appreciate it. You guys are just tearing it up on the super chats today. Thank you. I really appreciate the support. All right, so you got me all flustered. Back to the intro cam. So what I'm going to be using for this is liquid diamonds. This is what I usually use if I'm doing, if I need like long working time. It's something that I'm not going to pressurize. It's a pretty good resin. It's, you know, it works basically like, what I've found is most epoxies all work the same. You know, they're going to have a really long working time. I don't know. Their working properties, the way they turn, I haven't really found any that are significantly different than something else. Now, they're going to have slightly different, you know, working characteristics. Now, what I like about liquid diamonds, out of, you know, many of them, is it really only needs to be in the pressure pot for like a kind of an average size casting for like 9 hours. Whereas, you know, the stone coat resin, I'm not sure about, you know, some of the other ones like Total Boat and all that, but many of them kind of say that you need, you know, to leave it in there for like 24 hours. And that's just way too long. I don't have time for that personally. That's going to, you know, for me, that's going to hold up a pressure pot that I can't use for 24 hours. And that's too long. So I like liquid diamonds because it's a little bit faster out of the pressure pot. It's very thin viscosity, which is what I like. It has a 45-minute working time. Some of them out there only have like 30 minutes. And for me, I'm using this for more time. So I want a lot more time, basically. Did I say it's really clear? It's a very, very clear resin. It also has a little bit of UV inhibitor in it. So that's kind of why I use this. That's, you know, but honestly, they all kind of work the same. So, you know, whatever is, you know, within your budget, whichever one has the working properties you like. Again, if you're using like a slower setting resin, I don't know that really they are that much different. Now, what I usually use for 90% of what I make for my blanks and stuff is Alumilite Clear. I just think that the fast working time for most things is the way that I want to go. So we need to figure out how much resin we need to pour in here. So I'm thinking let's just mix up 300 grams total. Liquid diamonds is going to be 2 parts to 1 part. So 300 is an easy number also. I can just do 200 and 100, you know. Another thing that I like actually about Alumilite Clear is it's just 1-to-1 mix ratio. That's way, way easier. Much easier. So let me get some gloves on. Let's see what's happening in the chat real quick. And yeah, a lot of people like you know, like longer working times. Most of like the blanks that most of the things that I sell are color swirl, and I'm not going to mix up resin and wait an hour or 45 minutes before I can pour it. That's just ridiculous. Alumilite Clear slow set, you know, I just kind of wait probably about 8 to 10 minutes and I'm good to go. Hey, thanks Everett, I appreciate it. All right, I got my gloves on. Which camera are we on here? Let me switch to the casting view. Does it have less bubbles? Resins don't have bubbles in them. That's not something inherent. It happens when you pour it and when you mix it. Some of them, I've heard of like additives chemically that make them supposedly get rid of air better. You guys can't see what I'm doing. Can't see what I'm doing if the camera's not pointed at it. Jeez. Okay, so 200 grams of Part A. I think that's what this is. The big one. Now, remember I was talking about adding a little extra Part B when we were doing the first one? Do not do that with epoxy. If you add too much Part B, it gets actually softer, which is kind of weird because like with liquid diamonds, the Part B is the hardener. And it almost is counterintuitive to say, oh, if you add too much hardener, it's going to get softer. But that's actually what happens with epoxies. It becomes kind of rubbery. So with epoxies, you really want to nail that mix ratio. You want it to be pretty well, right on. So we're almost there. 198, 199. There we go. We gotta be there. I went a little bit over. I'm actually gonna take some out. I went not way over, but I'm actually gonna pull some of this out here with a little spoon thing, or not spoon, a stick. All right, now we're dead on 200. A lot of people say, well, how accurate do you need to be when you're measuring? And I say, well, if I'm 100% accurate when I measure, then if we do run into problems, there's no question that was it the measurement, right? So I think anytime you can do something more accurately, do it. That way it'll eliminate the possibility that could have been a problem if you do run into problems. But I guess bare minimum, what's going to happen is you're going to have less problems overall, if you're more accurate when you're measuring. Okay, so we need 100 grams of what is this? Part B with liquid diamonds. Some resins are kind of backwards, like the hardener will be Part A, and so this one's hardener, so it's two parts of resin to 1 part hardener is what we're going for. And they're all kind of different. Just make sure that you read the instructions, for the resin that you're using, because some of them are by weight, some of them are by volume, and they may have some kind of like odd mix ratios. So you always want to make sure that, you read the instructions, make sure you know what you're working with and that you're doing it right. One thing that a lot of people get confused on is Alumilite is a company, right? That's not like a specific type of resin. Alumilite's a company, and they have lots of different types of resins, and they have a lot that sound exactly the same. So I use Alumilite Clear, and they also have one called Amazing Clear Cast. And Alumilite Clear is a polyurethane-based resin. And it's 1-to-1, and you measure it by weight. Amazing Clear Cast is actually an epoxy product, and it's measured by volume, whatever their the measurement is. I don't think it's 1-to-1. It's like 2-to-1 or something, but it's by volume. And a lot of people assume that Amazing Clear Cast by Alumilite is just what I'm using, and it's not. So make sure that you know what you're using. Read the instructions, and you'll be good to go. Personally, I prefer weight measurements. A lot of mixing cups are not accurate. Like the graduated lines are really not technically accurate. And so, if you're doing really small amounts of resin, the graduated lines need to be very accurate, and you can run into problems if they're not. So I'd rather use a scale, personally. You're guaranteed that it's 100 grams and 200 or whatever that may be. So let's see here. Yeah, I don't like Amazing Clear Cast. No, it's really thick. It literally is tiring to mix up. And, you know, most of the year, my shop is like 68 degrees. We heat it in the winter, but I mean, it doesn't, you know, it's hovering somewhere between 68 and 72, and that stuff is super thick, and I don't really want to have to warm water bath it every single day. You know, I'm casting every day. So, you know, with Alumilite Clear, it's thinner, easier to work with, faster. But my biggest thing is I don't have any patience. I'm not going to buy something and use it mostly personally. It's just my personal preference that requires a 45-minute working time. That works well if, you know, you're making 100 label blanks or something clear, you know, castings, or you're making one giant pour of something. Then it doesn't really matter. But if you're doing color swirl blanks, the problem that you run into is it's not like you can really make tons and tons of them. You know, like mix up a huge batch and then, you know, wait till the end of the working time when it thickens up, and then pour a bunch of them. You have to wait till the end of the working time, which means you don't have much time to get everything done. So I'd rather just do lots of small batches. That's kind of my thing. The other thing for me is, you know, Alumilite Clear, it's ready to be pulled out of the pressure pot in, depending on which one you have and how much you've poured, but somewhere between 1 and 4 hours, whereas all these other slow setting resins, you're talking overnight. So I like the faster stuff, and frankly, I actually like the way Alumilite turns a little bit better. Another thing is it doesn't really stick to molds that much. So it's just, to me, I've been working with it for a while, and it just works best. But that doesn't mean that it's the right thing for everybody. If there was one resin that I'd say is wrong for almost everybody, that's polyester resin. That's the one that I absolutely can't stand. And I just don't think that there's very few reasons to use that one for anybody. Yeah, 1-to-1 yeah, that's right, by volume. Amazing Clear Cast is cheaper, you know, than Alumilite Clear, but I don't know. I don't like it personally. Rather just go with Alumilite Clear. Good old standby. Works great. One thing that Amazing Clear Cast is good for, though, is it has a little bit more tolerance for humidity. That is the one thing. If you have a very humid area, if you're like in the south and you don't have any, you know, dehumidifying or air conditioning, Alumilite Clear is probably not what you're going to want to work with. It's very sensitive to humidity and moisture. So, you know, I live in Nevada. There's zero humidity pretty much here. So, you know, it works perfect for me. But it can be pretty tough for some people. What ends up kind of happening is you might get like these white streaks in it if there's the humidity, the ambient humidity in the shop is too high. And same thing if the, you know, wood has moisture in it, you're going to get air bubbles and like white streaks. So there are, you know, everybody needs to kind of pick the one that works best for them in their conditions and the way they work. All right, so I've been mixing this up. This is 1 cup, and it's going to be for, we're going to do the blue, I think. Oh, Alejandro, what's up, man? Hey, I'm going to be down in Phoenix in November. I don't know if you were here earlier. Ah, well, thank you. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for the support. But we're going to be down in Phoenix. I'm going to be doing some classes at Chad's on, I think it's like the 10th, November 10th, something like that weekend, the Sunday of that weekend. So probably, hopefully, if you can come by, you know, we can chat it up. I'm going to do a couple classes. We're going to do like beginning resin casting in the morning. So that's going to be probably open to like, I don't know, somewhere between 10 to 15 spots for people. You probably don't need to do that one. And then the other ones that I'm doing are one-on-ones. I'm going to have two spots open for a couple one-on-one classes in the afternoon. So I don't know if you would want to be interested in that, but either way, I'm going to be at Chad's shop all day, so pop in sometime. Try and kind of text you and let you know when we're between classes, so we can kind of hang out a little bit. All right, so I think I've mixed the heck out of this. What I'm going to do is add a little bit. We're going to switch cameras here to that one. What I'm going to do is go for the ocean blue, and I'm adding a very tiny amount. This is where I call it a pinprick, okay? Alumilite dye is pretty concentrated. You don't need to add a lot to impart color. Alcohol dyes are kind of the opposite. They're not very concentrated, so it's not as big of a problem. They don't impart much color. But we don't want to add too much. We just want it tinted. So I'm just going to add like this tiny amount. I don't know if you guys can even see that. It's a pinprick, pretty much, literally. All right, and I'm just going to kind of waft it around. We just want to add a little bit of color. And, you know, you can add just another little pinprick. If you need it to be darker or something, you can kind of sneak up on it, but you really don't want to just dump a drop in your resin right off the bat, because it's probably going to be too dark at that point. We just wanted to add a little bit. Now, I actually think I'm going to add just a tiny, tiny bit more. I want it a little bit darker than that. So I'm just going to add another little kind of pinprick, waft this around in there. Hopefully we'll get this a little bit darker. It's kind of tough. I have a blue, yeah, that's not dark enough. One of the problems that I have is this silicone mat is blue, and so it kind of, I need to be conscious about that is going to probably impart some color in there. But I always say, you know, just sneak up on your colors. If this is the type of thing, it's a transparent one. I actually want to get some alcohol dyes because I think it's actually a little bit easier to just get a specific color that is totally transparent with those. You know, like most of you guys probably know Heath Knuckles. He uses the alcohol inks a lot for his colors, and he has really awesome colors, and I don't think that it's really that, you know, he just dumps some in. I don't think that adding more or less is really going to change that too much because it's less concentrated. All right, I need to add a little bit more. This is not getting as blue as I would like it. This almost looks like Coke bottle blue right now. Let's add a little bit more. I want to get this nice and kind of, you know, ocean blue. There we go. Now we're getting a little bit darker. Okay, I kind of like that. Yeah, maybe a little bit more. It's tough. It's tough. You got to sneak up on it though. I want to have good visibility. I don't want it to be too dark. Unicorn poo. Oh man. All right, I think that's pretty good. That's looking pretty good to me. So let's switch camera views. We'll dump this in there. We'll be good to go. So again, we're going to put the blue resin with the yellow piece. And I'm going to kind of keep an eye on this and make sure that it's not just leaking resin all over the place. Let me get behind the camera real quick here so that I can tell that you guys can see what's happening. All right. And what you want to do is try and, you know, when you're pouring kind of into a deep vessel like this, best thing to do is pour at the bottom. Find like the lowest spot in your mold. And this goes with, you know, if you're making a silicone mold as well. Pour the resin down to the bottom and let it kind of, you know, what do you want to say? Like kind of seep up the mold and fill across your, you know, if you got something embedded in there. You just have much less chance of trapping air in your mold. Okay. So there it is. I'm looking at this guy. I don't see any resin coming out right away anywhere. So I think it's holding, at least right now. There wasn't any obvious leaks. Oh, so I'm going to move this over here. Get that glue off of there. So, and then our next one, we're just going to go for a clear. Do a clear resin. Excuse me. Wood stain called unicorn spit? Oh, man. Ha! Nice. Woodcraft in Ypsilanti. I knew a guy that was... Did he live? He wasn't from there. No, he wasn't from there. He actually moved there. He was a good friend of mine in college. Moved to Ypsilanti. Okay, so we're switching back to the other camera view. And this time, again, we're going to go with liquid diamonds. We'll get that back out. We're going to go with the same amount. So you know what I forgot to do, guys? Nobody told me. Totally forgot to take notes on that last one. So, number 1. Number 2 was the last one. We're doing blue tinted, I don't know. I kind of think I want to make like an egg shape or something like that. I don't know. Blue tinted coral piece. And burl. How about that? The other thing that I forgot to do was say for the first one, I also marked down what mold I used and then what resin. And so we use slow set clear Alumilite for the first one. For this last one with the blue, we used liquid diamonds, and I'm going to put. A lot of people call that white stuff. The stuff I use for the mold, they call it's corrugated plastic, and so I'm just going to abbreviate it Corplaz. And we use 300 grams, 200 and 100, and we added pin pricks. I don't know how many. Blue, somewhere like around 5 pin pricks. So for number 3, we're just going clear. And then liquid diamonds, Corplaz. And again, we're going 300 grams total, 200 grams of part A or the resin part, and 100 grams of part B or the hardener. So we got our notes now. Let's get you guys looking at over here. We'll start going here. I got to get some more little things. Zero my cup out. Wait, what? So what I'm missing something here. Thanks for letting me know about the notes. I'm not sure what Doug was talking about. Yeah, some dyes don't work with some resins. You know, that's kind of one of the reasons why I've always just used Alumilite dyes. They work with every resin. I don't know of any resin that there aren't any that it's going to react with in any bad way. Alcohol inks could, maybe, I don't know. I thought pretty sure that Heath has used I think they're the Tim Holtz ones. And those don't seem to be a problem. Now, some dyes are made for polyester resin, and those will not work in some epoxies and in Alumilite. So you got to kind of watch what dyes you're using sometimes. You're always good to go with Alumilite dyes, but just know that a lot of them are kind of concentrated. So you got to watch how much you put in there. Otherwise, especially for a thick, if you're making a larger casting, it can get really dark really quick if you put too much dye in there and you can't really see in. Just kind of be careful a little bit, So 200 grams of part A. Yeah, I totally, this is totally not what I was talking about or anything, but I just thought about it. The air races are this weekend, and I totally didn't even realize that they already are here. It's one of my favorite events up here. Hot rod planes flying around in circles. Pretty cool. I'm not a big NASCAR fan. I don't like that so much, but for some reason these old school planes flying around, it's kind of like NASCAR for like old school planes. That's cool. And they have a jet class and all this stuff. And then they got the air show doing tricks and different stuff. It's pretty fun. All right, so I find it a little easier, especially for like the second thing that you're pouring into a cup, to just pour some resin. You know, don't pour it out of the thing. Pour it into a small cup. It's much easier. Hit 100 grams. And you're good to go. That's what I find. This is how I do it with liquid diamonds anyway. Problem is the second one, if you went over, there's no way to take any out, you know, so you got to really be careful on the second part. First one, you can always dump some back in the jug. It's no big deal, but 99.4. 6, 7. That ought to be enough. Oh. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to mix this up. And what I've also found is epoxies tend to, well, you know, for slow setting resins, they're generally going to be epoxies. You really want to mix extremely well. Like mix it for a few minutes. You just, once again, it's the easiest way to ensure that you get good results. I kind of find that epoxies sort of need a little bit more mixing than I find for Alumilite. Once there's no trails, you know, haziness, wisps of kind of haziness going on in an Alumilite cup, you're pretty good to go. You know, it's ready to go. With epoxy, you kind of need to get to that clear part, but I think that it does it better to just keep mixing it a little bit longer. I got kind of inconsistent results with liquid diamonds for a little while, and one problem was I got the measuring more accurate, so that's one thing, but I also started mixing it a lot longer, and I've never had any problems with it since. So I really think that epoxies in general, they like to be stirred longer. Even if it looks like there's, you know, all the parts are kind of mixed together, I think, you know, give it another minute or two, just in case. You got 45 minutes, so you may as well just sit there and mix it for a little bit. Yeah, and then mix more, right, yeah. It just, I don't know. And always make sure that you're scraping the sides of the cup, because you need to make sure that you've gotten, you know, all of the little part A's and part B molecules mixed up together. Otherwise you can have little blobs of uncured resin in your blanks, and that's no fun. So it's not even a bad idea to, like, you know, set a timer, you know, while you're mixing and mix for, you know, 3 to 5 minutes, something like that. Who knows, you know, however long. Kind of depends on how fast you're mixing it too, you know. I mean, if you're really mixing it slowly, trying to not get air bubbles in there, then, you know, you might need to mix for 5 or 6 minutes, 7, who knows. But if you're, you know, kind of pretty vigorously mixing it like I'm doing, then maybe 3 minutes is enough. But either way, you just got to kind of base it on, you know, like Skull Monkey said, when you think it's done, then mix it for another minute, and you'll be good. I just went over how liquid diamond is different than Alumilite. Can't answer that again. You can rewind and go back, but I pretty much answered that question. The main things are it's slow setting. That's kind of the main thing. It's an epoxy and it's slow setting. It's just generally it's the one that I usually use when I need longer working times. Everything else though I use Alumilite Clear for, because it does what I want the way I want it. All right. I'd say that's pretty good. I know, I just said when you think it's good enough, then do it longer, but I think that's going to be pretty good. We've been mixing for a few minutes here. All right, I'm gonna call it good. So let's switch to the other view, and there's not much to it. We're just gonna dump it in again. You know, we're not getting too crazy here today. I think I'm gonna move this over to this side. There's a big opening there, and I can get all the way down to the bottom. Make sure I'm on the right camera. And like I said, with these, actually, if there were some air bubbles in this blank, I actually don't think I would care. So I really wasn't, you know, trying to get it totally bubble free. It's not that important. It's going to be an underwater type of thing. And so if we happen to have a few air bubbles down under there that get trapped, then whatever. I'm okay with it, you know, not a big deal. So there we go. Let me take a peek and see if there's anything that's obviously running out. Oh, we got some leakage on this other one, guys. Where's it leaking from? Hold on real quick. Got a little bit of leakage. So I think I found it. I'm just going to kind of, let's see here. Where is that? We did get a little leakage. But I'm hoping that it's not as a big enough leak to make it really a problem. These things can happen though. So one other thing to mention, if you're doing, you know, something like this where maybe your mold it might have a little bit of a leak, make sure you don't leave it sitting on something like wood where it's going to get stuck to that, you know. Put it on something like a silicone baking mat or, you know, tape or something. So what I'm going to do here, and I like I said, I don't really think it's going to be that big of a problem necessarily, but if you can see over there, there's a little bit of resin. Nope, you can't see because I'm not pointing the camera at it. See how there's a little bit of resin on the table there? So we got a little bit of a leak. Like I said, this isn't the most amazing way to make a mold, really. And you're always better off adding even more hot glue to something like this. So first thing I'm going to do is go get let's see here, what am I going to get? Oh, I got a silicone baking mat over here. But what I'm going to do is just put some tape on the bottom of that thing, and I think we should be good. Where did my silicone thing go? I had one. Oh, there it is. Okay, so we're going to put this guy down so that these things don't get stuck. And then I think what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to try and hot glue the heck out of the bottom of this thing and hope that everything's good to go. Okay. You're going to see some, this is what we call fire control or whatever. What do you call this? Problem control. So I gotta wait for my heat gun to, or my glue gun to heat up. Let's see what the chat thinks of this. You guys are like, I told you to use more glue. Flex seal, I don't even know what that is. Really late, well, you're not, yeah, we're kind of at the end. We didn't do, oh, whoops, sorry guys. This stupid thing. We're okay. Packing tape does work a little bit. I didn't use any on it though. Story of DIY Dark Matter's like, oh man. No to the baking mats? Huh. Oh, to her baking mats? Yeah, I wouldn't do that. see here. I can't keep up with what's going on. Screen issue, yeah, I know. Sorry guys, I was trying to read the chat. There's a lot of like questions about it. Alumilite has 0 UV inhibitors in it, so it's not really going to hold up to UV light at all. It's going to yellow. But the thing about that is, I mean, every resin, there's only a couple that I've seen that actually totally claim they will absolutely not yellow. One of them is art resin, and it's not very good for turning. So that's kind of not an option. I've tried it. I didn't like it that much for turning blanks. And then there's a couple other ones that are obscure or they're like super ridiculous expensive. And so like the rest of them have like what they call UV inhibitors. And that's just kind of, it'll kind of hold up a little bit against it. But it's not like any guarantee. Like most epoxies and things like that are going to yellow over time, no matter what. So, you know, that's why, you know, it kind of sucks that Alumilite has no UV inhibitors at all in it. But I like, the thing is, I haven't really had any problems with it myself, you know, personally. So I don't know. It just kind of depends. Now, if it's something, if you're doing a project where you absolutely have to not have any yellowing, then, you know, definitely do not use Alumilite for it. All right, so basically, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually hot glue around the base of this thing. Are you guys seeing what I'm doing yet? Okay. I don't think it's really leaking too much anymore, but I'm just going to hot glue it to this baking mat, and it's going to at least keep it, you know, kind of contained. Hot glue is the greatest thing ever. I love it. So I've just tried to kind of seal a couple things. This isn't, like I said, this is definitely not the best option or a perfect mold for this kind of thing. But in general, I mean, as long as you glue enough of it, it'll be good enough in most cases. All right, so we got that. I'm going to add a little bit over here. A little bit down here just to make sure. And I already got kind of underneath there, so this thing is hot glued to the hilt, basically. And it doesn't look like this one's really leaking, I don't think. So I think we're okay on that side. I'm going to keep an eye on it, but I think we're good. So we might lose a little bit of resin. You know, that's what could happen with those leaks. But overall, I don't think it's going to be a problem, really. All right, so yeah, don't use your wife's baking mats. Go buy, they're so cheap. Just go buy some baking mats on Amazon. they're like $10 for like 2 of them. Easy, no problem. All right, so I guess that's about it. You know, kind of, we did our things here. We got a couple of, I'm really excited about these 2 that have the burl. I think those things are going to turn out pretty cool. I'll turn one of those, and then, let's see, I'm trying to think of how this is going to work. I might just kind of turn a stopper like real quick to see what happens and just kind of report the results, because that's not really that important necessarily. I'm just more kind of curious about how that material turns and what it looks like. But I think I'll turn one of these guys up, and like I said, I'm thinking I might go for like sort of an egg type shape or something like that. And then I'll probably save the other one. If it turns out good, I'll have that one up for grabs for somebody if you want to buy it in the short run section of my website. So the other one that's in the pressure pot, I'm going to cut that into like stopper size blanks. And I'll probably just turn that real quick. Maybe I'll try and get some video footage of it. Just to kind of see if there's anything interesting, and then just kind of report back. I don't know when we'll do this. Maybe next week, we'll have to kind of see. But anyway, so I'm excited to see how this stuff works. And I think one of the coolest things about this, like I said, these were pretty cheap. They were like about $10 and you get like 8 of these different little things. I think one of the best things about it is you can make a silicone mold of it and then create, you know, whatever you want with whatever resin, colors, and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I hope you guys had fun kind of hanging out. I didn't do the best at that mold making thing, you know, but it'll work in a pinch, and it's not going to be like, you know, I don't think we're going to lose all the resin in it. It's going to be okay. But anyway, let's see here. Let me scoot down a little bit here. Let's see. When are the classes? Hey, Braxton's still here. So let me look at the calendar. They're in November, and I believe it's the 10th. It's on a Sunday. Yeah, so Sunday, November 10th. And I'll have, what I'm doing is this weekend, well, maybe not this weekend, but early next week, what I'm going to do is kind of put together a graphic with kind of all the information on it. But basically, we have everything pretty much nailed down. There's going to be a class in the morning that day, and that's just beginning resin casting, you know, kind of all the basics. I kind of walk through, do a little bit of a demo, and then there's some time for everybody in the class to kind of ask questions, and, you know, we just do like Q&A at the end, basically. And then I have 2 classes in the afternoon that day that are going to be one-on-one. So obviously it's just one person will have the opportunity, basically. It's not a class of people. Just one person, you know, if there was like a couple, that would be fine. But 2 one-on-one classes that are probably going to be about an hour and a half long each. And that's going to be, the way that's going to work is I'm going to have like, and I don't know offhand exactly what the focuses are, but you get to pick, you know, let's just say, for instance, like color swirl blanks, or, you know, pine cone castings, or, you know, like making a bowl or something like that. Like we need to make sure that we have the supplies and all the materials, and I know what I'm doing with that. But and if you want to sign up for this, it's going to be on the Turner's Warehouse website. You'll just pick that class. And like I said, the one-on-ones are going to be super limited availability. So kind of keep an eye on stuff next week if you're thinking about doing that, so that you can get in. But you'll go on Turner's Warehouse, you'll say, I want to, you know, do the one-on-one, and then there'll be a drop-down list of, you know, I want to do, you know, color swirl blanks. I want the one-on-one kind of thing. So it should be kind of fun. I've never really done any one-on-one classes yet like this, but realistically, I'd rather do those kind of. I kind of like to be able to just kind of get to know people and find out, you know, what do you want to do? How can I kind of tailor this to you? And then kind of, you know, work together. And that's going to be a hands-on class. I should mention that. The one-on-ones, like, you're making stuff, and if you live in Phoenix, you know, you'll be able to come back and pick up the blanks that you made. Or if you're not in Phoenix, you know, Chad will just send home, you know, whatever you made to your house, or, you know, whatever. So anyway, it should be kind of fun. I'm excited about these classes. In Chad's shop, he's in that new shop. It's awesome, at Turner's Warehouse. So it should be pretty cool. So again, we got merch now. So if you want to pick up a Dunkin Junk shirt, there's all kinds of colors and all that stuff. We got stickers, mugs, I Heart Resin. Sorry, I probably just smacked the microphone. I Heart Resin t-shirts. So there's all kinds of good stuff in the Teespring store. So I think it's just teespring.com/nvwoodworks if you want to pick up that stuff. And you can also just kind of quickly get to that store if you just look below my videos now. They show all the kind of like Dunkin Junk shirts and stickers and all that stuff. And so it's pretty cool. I'm very excited about the merch. That's pretty easy to grab onto. And then so Sunday, be looking for I just went blank, for the Shredded Money Bowl. That video is going to be up on Sunday, so make sure you keep your eyes peeled for that. It's a pretty good one, I think. I'm pretty excited about it. And yeah, so I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else. If there are any other updates, make sure, you know, follow me on Instagram or Facebook at NV Woodworks at both of those. And so anyway, yeah. I hope you guys all have a wonderful night. Thank you guys all for joining the fun. Big thank you to everybody who did the super chat. I really appreciate all the support, guys. And we will do this next week, Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. I actually have some really interesting castings coming up, so I'm not sure what the scheduling is going to be, but I got some cool blanks that we're going to make coming up soon. So it'll either be next week. We might turn one of these things next week, or we're going to start doing a couple of these really cool ones. So make sure you come back next week and join the fun on the live stream. So have a great night, guys. I will see you next Friday, and get in the shop. Have fun resin casting, and my new sign off is happy casting. I like that. I kind of enjoy that. It's in my videos. So good night, guys. See you next Friday.